Hi there, and thank you for dialing in to the Faculty of Asian and Middle Eastern Studies at the University of Cambridge. My name is Roel Sterckx. China has emerged onto the world scene, wielding economic and political power and influence as never before. When the 13th century Venetian traveler Marco Polo reported on the riches of this vast empire, its people, and its cities, his stories were bundled together in a book that announced itself as describing the marvels of the world, le livre des merveilles du monde. Today, our encounters and fascination with China are more sophisticated and multifaceted. Indeed, to an increasing number of students and professionals, China no longer represents that quintessentially other civilization, that place where each and every habit, virtue and vice seems to turn upside down everything held dear by a loosely self-identified West. The direction of human travel, too, has turned irreversibly. Gone are the days when a handful of missionaries fueled European curiosity about China during the 18th century Enlightenment, or when, a century later, accounts of the achievements and tribulations of a waning Chinese empire were funneled to Europe by a select group of traders, diplomats, and preachers. Today, every respectable university campus in the world recruits and plays host to highly talented Chinese students and researchers. China trades visibly and invisibly in every corner of the world. Its goods, its services, and cultural capital are discernible, audible, and even edible in every household. Young people explore the Chinese language at school, university, or in evening classes today with the same curiosity that drew foodies to Chinese cuisine before noodles and Peking duck went global. Yet our schools, our colleges, and the media have barely begun putting together the elementary curricula needed to introduce aspiring global citizens to the basic outlines of Chinese civilization and Chinese ways of thinking. China, so far, tends to creep into our narrative only from the time it appears on the imperial horizons of the West, or when it enters the international politics of the 20th century, or when its economy seems unresistingly relevant or threatening to us. In university departments, philosophy still sounds mostly Greek. Neither does 1/5 of the world's population appear to have a religion, judging by many course syllabi. So beyond its moments of encounter with the West, to many, China remains a land of tea and calligraphy, of poetry and porcelain, and the odd imposing emperor. For those still comfortable with intercultural conversation in terms of we versus them, the knowledge that the average Chinese teenager or college student knows much more about us than we know about them should be a gentle wake-up call. To understand China, we need to learn to think Chinese. This book requires no knowledge of China. Its organization reflects my own personal digest as it has grown in conversation with students and audiences over the years. Like myself, at the age of 18, many of my students did not know what to expect, where to begin, when they came to college to study China, its history, its languages and thought. So I hope this book will give readers and prospective applicants to our program some useful vantage points from which to begin their own dialogue with Chinese thinkers. Historians short of ideas tend to become historians of ideas. A good way to characterize Chinese thought is to spell out what it is not. So in this book, you will find little theoretical reflection on how the human mind works, or whether there exists a world or reality beyond this. Nor will you be told how matter relates to spirit, what truth is, let alone logic, or whether there exists such a thing called mind or knowledge. Why? Because such questions, known among professional philosophers as epistemology and ontology, because such questions did not figure highly on the agenda of Chinese thinkers. Chinese thought is predominantly human-centered and practice-oriented. The great questions that have occupied China's brightest minds are not about who and what we are, but rather about how we should live our lives, how we relate to others, how we should organize society, or how we can secure the well-being of those who live with us and for whom we are responsible. Human conduct, human nature, and the politics of human society will form the bulk of the story here. When comparing philosophical traditions, it is easy to get lost in the many different answers various thinkers give to the enduring questions of life. A more fruitful way into a culture, perhaps, is to focus first on the questions that are asked before we worry about the answers. In China, these questions included: what makes a good person? What type of person is fit to govern and lead others? How can we create order in society? How can past traditions inform the present? What can we learn from those who came before us? And what strategies will enable us to outmaneuver our enemies and competitors? How do we persuade others? Does social engagement make for a fulfilling life? Or is it better to retreat from society altogether? Ancient China's masters of philosophy rarely engaged in intellectual debate for its own sake. Most of the ideas they offer are offered as guidance to be lived, to be experienced, to be practiced. Ironically, China's most influential thinker, Confucius, was a failure in office. He was unable to find a ruler willing to put his ideas into practice. So Chinese thinkers reflect on how to live, how to function better, and how to find harmony with the world. Yet, in putting lived experience above theoretical knowledge, their teachings touch our entire person, the brain as well as the emotions. And that is why they are as relevant today as they are interesting for their past. Thank you for listening.